The Hemi JK is back in the shop. This time it's getting axles, big brakes, and suspension. Check it out. All right, so here's part 2. If you haven't already watched the 6.4 Hemi swap in this yellow Jeep, we're gonna put a link in our description below so you can check out the first phase of that project. So we wanted to walk you through the suspension, the big brakes, and the axles that we're gonna be putting in this thing. As you can see, we've got the front axle already out. It's back on the axle rack, and we'll show you that once we get back to the axles. Up front here, we've got most of the suspension all laid out. We're gonna be using a Teraflex 4-inch kit. This is their kit that comes with all their Alpine control arms. These control arms use like OEM style Cleveite rubber bushing so that the vehicle is comfortable and handles just like it would stock. Again, these are all adjustable, so we'll be able to set wheelbase length, caster, drive shaft angles perfectly. We also opted in this kit for their Falcon shocks. These things are awesome, and when you hold them, they are a work of art. So this guy's gonna have some really neat adjustability for depending on the terrain and driving style that he's got. So that's great. There's a lot of pieces to this kit. Some the Speedbumps from Teraflex as well. These are gonna make sure that if this suspension fully compresses, that they absorb that and prevent the tires from hitting the body. So definitely need something like that. We're gonna also be installing some beefy steering from Steer Smarts. We've installed this stuff in the past and we love working with Steer Smarts on their tie rod and drag link, beefy parts, and because this Jeep's gonna be running some massive 38-inch tires, it's definitely important to make sure that these things are strong. Talking about tires, we're gonna also need to talk about brakes. We've got right here the Dynatrac Pro Grip. These are really nice brakes because they allow you to run a bigger rotor to improve stopping power. I wanna walk you over here and show you these tires and wheels. We just got them mounted up. We've got to balance them yet, which we'll do with our Hunter Road Force balancer. These are 38 1350 Nitto Ridge Grapplers, and we've got them mounted on 20 by 10 cleavers. So it's gonna look really wild on this Jeep. Let's go check out the axles. So when you look at this old axle, it really makes you appreciate what's in this crate from Dynatrac. These things are polished, powder coated, looking really, really good. When you look at these things, it's not hard to see why they are so awesome. Right here, we've got the Dynatrac Pro Rock 44 and the Pro Rock 60. Now these axles are gonna add a ton of strength. The housings are beefy, the knuckles are huge, the brackets are thick. These are gonna have no problem with these axles and those tires and wheels. Now we've got them stuffed with 488 gears and Eaton e-lockers, so he's got traction on demand whenever he needs it. Now these are basically bolt-in ready. They've got all the brackets in, gears in, lockers installed. We just need to wire them up and they're gonna be good to go. So I want to talk a little bit more about this Falcon shock. So we got it clamped up in our vise in a shock holder that we use for normal rebuilding. This thing is awesome and it's designed specifically for the JK, this particular one. Although Falcon does make a lot of shocks for F-150s, Tacomas, Silverados. So if you're looking for a leveling kit or something for your truck, Falcon's got you taken care of as well. This specific shock is designed just for the JK, and there's a couple reasons why. One is exactly where they put the reservoir. It's up out of the way, it tucks into the fender well really nicely. Another feature is this offset stem. That's pretty neat and well engineered. You wouldn't normally think of it, but under articulation, the body of the shock actually hits the frame. So that's offset to give you some more room in here so that your shock is not actually touching the frame. One really cool feature about this is the adjustability as well. As you can see, there's 3 position settings there and the ability to fine tune. So right now, this shock is on setting number 1. That's the softest position that this shock allows it to be in. The next spot is position 2, and lastly, 3. 3, of course, is the firmest setting that you can have. So if you're stuck in between and you want some additional fine tunability, we'll say, you can put it back into level 2 and you can fine tune that setting from soft to firm, giving you the exact suspension control that you need depending on what kind of terrain you're on. So if you've got a JK, these are an excellent option for shocks that give you adjustability for whatever you're driving on. And bam, just like that, we've got it all done. Of course, much easier said than done, but we've got the axles installed in the Jeep, drive shafts are all hooked up, steering's all mounted. As you can see, we've got all the shocks, everything's good. The lockers are all wired up. One thing that we use for all of our electrical accessories is an electrical management system just like this one from S-Pod. It's a really neat way to make sure that your vehicle's accessories are wired safely, and you have a really neat way to mount switches. So that's cool. I also want to take a second and talk about drive shafts. We use a lot of different drive shaft vendors, but the drive shafts in this particular one, we got made custom just for this project here in York, Pennsylvania by Quigley. Now you may know Quigley, they do a lot of four-wheel drive van conversions, but they also do in-house drive shafts and custom drive shafts. So it worked out really, really well. We were able to put 1350 U-joints in this truck with 1350 CV heads. So they're strong and they're gonna do really, really well for this project. It looks really, really good under here, and we're gonna show you some awesome footage of that. Man, this Jeep really has me drooling. I love this thing. All the axles, suspension, steering, and of course you can't forget that 6.4 liter swap. At this point in the game, we are just about done. Of course, the owner has a few things to wrap up yet. As you can see, the inner liners are missing. There's no winch in there, some lighting, rockers, but that's kind of stuff that he wants to do to make sure he's got his own blood, sweat, and tears into this project. We had a blast doing it and cannot wait for the next one. See you then.